Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. I'm
Hello.
not Betsy and I'm not Vicky.
No, we've got Sandy back. Yay. Hey, Sandy.
Thanks for inviting me back. And
Oh, we
Betsy will
love.
be here momentarily.
Yes, Betsy has a class right at till 10, and then she's going to slide in, find an empty classroom, boot people out, and connect, and then she'll be joining us shortly. So it's always great to see you, Sandy.
Well, thank you so much. How is everybody doing today? I was chatting with Greg, and Greg is recovering from his ice storm. And how's everybody doing? Is it warm where anybody is? It's springtime for me. So
is it? Does it feel like spring?
It was in the 80s this week. It's going to be in the 70s this weekend, but my garden has already bloomed. My roses are blooming. My azaleas are blooming. My hydrangeas are blooming. My tomato plants are starting to bloom. So yeah, it's time to go for spring. Leave old Miss Winter behind. And I imagine you would be very happy to leave.
We'll be very happy when spring comes. Well, we had my brother and sister-in-law were for cards last weekend, and it must be spring somewhere because my brother-in-law has wicked allergies, and that was all of a sudden he was going crazy, and it didn't look like there was anything out, but I noticed when I was with the grandkids, we were out on the on the lawn the other day, and yeah, they're little buds.
Do you have yellow pollen? Do you see yellow pollen all over your yard?
We don't see it. Like I can't see the pollen. It's not visible. Like we don't have goldenrod. Is that what you're thinking? Goldenrod plants?
Like our car, I have a white car. My car will be completely covered in pollen dust and yellow. And this year, from in Atlanta, we had the highest levels of pollen ever since they started registering. It was over 14,000, whatever they call it, and it's been the highest. But we know in down here, if we don't start taking allergy pills in February, we'll never make it till June. So we prepare in advance. But my entire car was covered, and even if you wash it or rain comes in, the next day it's covered all over again. So it's just the difference, I guess, of areas down in the south versus. But I don't have the ice that you have.
No, you would not get the ice. Well, Anne Fiordalisi wins the prize for the first one in this morning. And she says it's chilly in Cleveland, Ohio, 45 degrees and rainy, 45 Fahrenheit. 45 here in Celsius would be very warm. But yeah. And Amanda followed shortly thereafter from down under. She says it's cold in Melbourne, Australia. Rick Cleland has had some health issues. I hope you're feeling better soon, Rick. Margaret from the cloudy and cool west. There we go. D is from Augusta. Now, how far is Augusta from Atlanta?
Augusta is not too far. It's about 2.5 hours, right, Dee? I think it's east of me.
Nice. Finn says woof back to all of you who are saying hi to him. John Tyner from Ireland is here. Hey there, John. Let's see who else is here. Sliding up Holly. Tia, Edge Beauty is here. Going through New York Quaker Records. Very cool. Chris Ferriolo. Hey there, Chris. And Nettie May. Nice to see you. Ozzy. Pronounced Ozzy. She always adds that to her profile. Is here. Murray Maloney. Hey there. And Collingwood. Oh, and he does the translation for us. 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, it is cool. Hey there, Laura W. How you doing? Margaret Tull is here, and Thomas Conline.
It has been a while. I run into Thomas. You're very interesting to me. I run into him a lot with my Appalachian Notables. I think Thomas has a love of music because I find that I run into a lot of his profiles in his work. So thanks for that. Nice.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, he'll like at least one of the profiles of the week then with his love of music. Good. Another one who suffers from allergies. Yeah. Well, hello to everyone who's watching this after the fact online. So we appreciate you watching and of course liking and subscribing and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you can't join us live, you can always watch us afterwards. So Sandy, why don't you take it away?
Okay. So I am filling in for Vicky today. So we're going to talk about first the member of the week.
Excellent.
Let me go ahead and bring this up, and I will expand my. And I don't believe that he was able to join us, but we are celebrating South Africa this week with our profiles of the week and also members of the week. And Frederick Fritz, and it's interesting. I am 23 degrees from him. You never know. You would think that how can somebody from Appalachia or Georgia be related to somebody across the globe? But I am. So it's kind of cool. So if you guys bring up his profile, see how close you guys are related to our member of the week, to Frederick. And Vicky has set me up so nicely when told me a little bit about him as well. We did invite him, but I think that he just couldn't join, maybe because of the time zones.
Could be.
But here is his member of the week, and he goes by Freaky. So I think Frederick and Freaky Fritz, that was kind of a really neat nickname to use. But he became a wiki genealogist in 2019 and is actively working in the War project. And he got interested in genealogy kind of the same way everybody does, right? You're working on your own family tree, but he did it on an Excel spreadsheet.
Wow.
I know. And I'm thinking that, he must be loving WikiTree because it just lets you do a little bit more visible things, I think. But with info that he got from his parents and grandparents, and then his wife showed me WikiTree. Said I should take a look. It looks interesting. And I love the quote, "The rest is history." And he also, it looks like the history, some of his interests are the history of how they moved from one place to another and the challenges they had to overcome. I think this is one thing when we look through our trees, and sometimes we're adding sources and we're adding sources and we're adding sources, or we're adding ancestors, and we don't sometimes pause to look at the migration. And it sounds like that's something that he's really interested in doing, where he's looking and he knows the area where they migrated, and he's probably thinking back at that time frame, how difficult and challenges must have been. Roads probably weren't there, and you're probably going over land or by sea. So it would be very interesting to look at his family tree and see the migration that they've got going on. And he is trying to interconnect to others. Now, surnames, I thought this was interesting when he's like, surnames, you get beautiful surnames and the origin of them, of how they started. And Greg, I will let you pronounce this. The one I was working on was
Roubaix, yeah.
And so how he had to flee his own country, got married, got citizenship in another country, and then he was also called a Marquise. So there's a story there. We're missing the story, so we're going to have to figure out that story of what's going on. And so Seymour is one of his favorite, and I think due to mystery how they get the surname, apparently fighting the Vikings. Now we're talking kind of South Africa, right? And he's bringing up the Vikings, and he brought up his migration of his family. So already there, you've got a really interesting story from our member of the week. And if you guys have time, go look at his family tree. And you know what I'm going to suggest? Go look at his family tree via the fan chart, because you can see the migration fairly easy that way.
Yeah.
And then his toughest brick wall. Everybody has brick walls, right? As a matter of fact, we're working on brick walls all summer long in my project. Every weekend is brick wall weekend, and everybody has brick walls. But I want to let everybody know that if you do have a brick wall, keep looking at it, because indexing happens every day. New records are there every day. Hi, Betsy.
Hey, Sandy. Greg.
So keep looking on it. And then he spends most of his time on WikiTree getting the documents and photos for the graves and most of the war soldiers that he's working on. So he sounds like he's pretty busy with his tree, but also looking at the Anglo-Boer War. And I wish he could have joined us, because there's definitely a migration mystery here with some of his ancestors that would be very interesting to hear his stories that he has with it. But Freaky Brits, thank you for being a WikiTreeer, and you are the member of the week as we celebrate South Africa this week. Oh,
so I'm 26 degrees from him.
You are, and I'm 23.
And I'm actually a relative. I'm his 30th cousin twice removed.
Really?
Our common ancestor, it goes back to the year 10,000 or 1033. So, it's pretty distant. It's a very distant cousin. So.
Yeah, I've got many, many branches. So again, well, that's interesting though.
Yeah.
It's got to be through the French connection. No pun there.
Yeah. My connection is through the French side. Yeah. And yours look like it's through the German side.
It is, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as rare to find. It goes to the German side, and then it goes through my famous, what I call my Bennetts.
Oh,
Because there's like 50 million Bennetts, and they're all named the same, and they're all in the same town, and it's like, no.
Well, I am 27 degrees from Pricky, and it's unusual because I almost always go through my maternal grandfather, but in this case, the path is through my paternal grandmother.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, yeah, that happens like, 1 in 20 times.
Yeah.
Don't you get so excited when that happens? You're like, oh my gosh, I finally found a connection through one that never shows.
I
love this. Okay, let's move on to now. As you all know, Betsy started, I think, the profile makeover. It was called Dash of Love, right? And Vicky took it over.
No. I mean, I was very active on the events committee at the time that it came into being, and but Donna Bauman.
Oh, that's right, Donna did. Yeah,
right.
And then Vicky took it over. And for those of you that are new that might not know, we take a profile that basically needs a heck of a lot of love, and we give it love, and we give it everything we can. That could be sources, that could be biography, could be research notes, categories, photos, anything that we can find that we can make this particular profile better. And we're just finishing up on April, and Vicky's theme for April was flowers. I don't think she has the May up yet, so keep watch for the May.
It is. She does have a theme for May.
She does. What's the theme?
It's going to be the sea.
The sea.
The sea. So I'm sure that post will be going up this week. Yeah,
that's pretty cool, because if you think about it, it's really could be anything. It could be a sailor. It could be somebody who lived by the seashore, right? Could be somebody who lived in a lighthouse. I still have yet to do a profile for that. It could be somebody who's lost at sea. So there's a lot of, or traveled by sea. So that's a really varied one that we have. She asked me to showcase, especially this one coming up, and I think I know why. So this is the before. And this kind of really visually explains the whole idea, I think, of the profile improvement. So we have one profile here that was probably maybe a JEDCOM, or maybe somebody added it and wasn't sure how to find sources. So we've got somebody from Pennsylvania, and I believe Lisa Gervais is the one who worked on this one. And that's before, and here's the after. And a little bit different look between the design, new design. But now we've got a complete, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so you can see it a little easier. We've got complete biography, and she's also given us the tables. You can do that from Sourcer pretty easy. And it's a little bit more sources here. Just a few, right? And then she gives the history. So why is this important? I've had a couple people say that, is this just for fun? Well, it is, because if you ever take a blank profile like this one, it's really fun to see what you can do with it. But also, there might be a cousin out there looking for this information, or somebody just starting in genealogy, or somebody that's trying to tie up loose ends. And if they find this particular person, Emma Jane, and they come up, and then they have all these wonderful sources, they could actually go, and these are Ancestry links here, so they can go to a free share Ancestry link and see the sources and see if they connect to their family. And then also maybe they'll join WikiTree and help expand this particular woman's tree. That would be great too. So a really good job, Lisa.
Yeah.
And just point out two bonus ones. This one is from Lynn, and wanted to point out that never has she heard the first name, and I'm going to guess Tapinas. I'm not sure.
What my guess would be.
Yeah,
Did you do a Google search on it? That's such a interesting name.
it is. And the reason why this one kind of was interesting to me is I have a project member who has the last name Munson, and she's in the West Coast, so she might not be awake yet to see this. So I sent this profile to her to say, hey, is this person anyway related to you? Because it's kind of curious too. So it's a very interesting name, but also Lynn wanted to make note of the background. These are how the background shows in the new design, which I love how the backgrounds show. And, you know, she made the background by telling AI that she wanted garlands in describing the background that she wanted. So there's a way that you can create a background as well. And then one last one. This is another one with a unique background, and we're talking kind of about C. So this is just a commercial background that you can find. There's a lot of free sites out there that you can get backgrounds in uploaded, but I like this because it was a good segue into the C being the theme for the next month. So thanks, Lisa, and thanks, Lynn, for that. And that is your member of the week and your profile maker.
Nice. That's neat. I like that you showed that. And I really do. That's one thing I like about the new design is how the background is the top, and it gives you that flavor, but it doesn't take over the whole page. And depending on what the background was, sometimes the background that people chose was nice and subtle, and it would look beautiful on the whole page. But a lot of times it was not, and it just was too much.
Too busy. Sometimes they're too busy.
Yeah.
And I like it when people use backgrounds that kind of hint at what the person might like. Like I saw somebody who had trucks, you know, that was like kind of faded. That was kind of cool. And then somebody who had fishing, and somebody who had sewing. So it kind of gives you an instant idea of what the person is. And then I'm curious. So now I got to read the profile.
Yeah.
We have research from the chat.
There you go.
Yeah. Also
Egyptian
biblical name, and well, an ancient era name.
Egypt,
Queen's name. Oh, first mentioned in the
Book of Kings. Okay, because the name looked familiar, but I would have never put it together with the Bible because I don't see it spelled that way. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Good. Do you want to go next, Betsy, or do you want me to do the profiles?
Yeah, it's up to you, Greg. Well, why don't you go first?
Okay. Okay then. Well, let me just zoom in on this and share my screen. So the profiles, as Sandy's already mentioned, the theme this week is South Africa. And so playing connection checkers, it's all about your South African connections. And let me just zoom in there so we can see that a little bit better. There we go. We're featuring notables from the Cape Colony in South Africa in honor of South African Freedom Day, which was celebrated this week. And we'll get to see which notable South Africans is closest to you. So let's see. Which one is closest to all of you folks?
I'm getting there. Hang on.
I'm Elon.
My closest, I've got two who are tied for the closest. One I'm very happy about, the other one not so keen. So if you look at the whole list, you may be able to guess just from that description who they are. Well, actually, there's a couple. Anyways, J.R.R. Tolkien is my closest at 20 degrees.
Oh, that's really cool for you. That's very
cool. Very cool. But also tied for 20 degrees is Elon Musk.
Yeah. I have a 19-degree tie with Elon Musk and Seymour Papert.
Oh, Seymour Papert, that's very cool. Yeah. I'm 24 from him. So today, I'm going to see now. Actually, I didn't check. We should have done a sound check beforehand, because I reached out to our good WikiTree friend and also programmer Riel Smit, who hails from South Africa, because I wanted to make sure that I was pronouncing the names properly, because some of these names are ones that I hadn't seen before or I've seen, but I wanted to make sure that I was pronouncing them properly in a South African form. And he was kind enough to send me back a voice recording.
So, that's cool.
I'm going to play. It's only 22 seconds. And so hopefully, let me know if this is coming through your speakers or not.
Okay.
So here are the 5 names that might be slightly different. Christian Nietling Barnard, Zenzile Miriam Makeba, Jacobus Hendrik Pierneef, Charlize Tron, Desmond Mpilu Tutu.
Isn't that great?
Yes, I love hearing that.
Yeah. So that's great.
So I'm used to saying Charlize Theron or
Yes.
Theron. He's like Throne.
Throne. Yes. So he replied back on text, and then he gave me the recording. And so one of the things he said about Charlize specifically, and we'll just jump ahead, is that in South Africa you pronounce her last name Throne, and South Africans apparently really laugh when they hear the North American pronunciation of Theron, and giving it like 2 syllables when it's really just the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder why she doesn't correct.
I don't know. Maybe she's just too polite.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's obviously a living notable. Born in the 70s, though doesn't give her. It actually gives her exact. I always think that's hilarious. Officially, she's born in the 70s. We're respecting her privacy, just saying it's in a decade. And then the biography, first sentence, tells you exactly her birth date. So, but I mean, it's not like it's not anywhere else. It's probably on her Wikipedia page. It's all over. So, but I mean, and this is all controlled by the general algorithm, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there. Anyways, that's great. Born the 7th of August, 1975, in Benoni, in the Transvaal province, in South Africa. She has Afrikaner heritage, with Dutch, French Huguenot, and German ancestry. And her first language is actually Afrikaans, though she's obviously fluent in English as well. I didn't realize that she initially wanted to be a dancer, but that's how she began her career, with a modeling contract in Europe. 16, pretty young, moved to New York City to study ballet. Unfortunately, a knee injury ended that, and that led her to switch gears to acting, and then moved to LA, 1994, Los Angeles, and did a bunch of films. Devil's Advocate, Mighty Joe Young, Cider House Rules, and then Monster was her big breakthrough one, which actually is a film I have not seen yet, though it's about a serial killer, so that's not a topic I follow. Yeah. So it may not be a warm fuzzy movie, I don't know, but based on the subject matter and the name of the movie, doesn't sound like a feel-good movie. And then The Italian Job, I wonder, Chris, if he's seen that movie, and a bunch of others. She did become a U.S. citizen, but she still retained her South African citizenship. 2 adopted daughters, longtime activist, and also named a UN Messenger of Peace. Neat. So, very cool, Charlize. Let's go back to the headliner, or the first one that mentioned in the article is Christian Nietling Bernard, born 8th November 1922 in Beaufort West in Cape Province, in the Union of South Africa. Passed away at the age of 78 in 2001 in Paphos, Cyprus. So his claim to fame, of course, what he's most famous for is heart transplant. He was the first doctor to perform a heart transplant from one human to another. It was performed in 1967, and he was the first one to do that, and went on to perform 10 more of those procedures before retiring. I mean, that was a huge deal, of course, back then. Now that routine is is quite common and used throughout the world to save people's lives. But very important.
I can't even imagine being the first time doing that.
Can you imagine? Like that's just
And trying to explain to the family, well, we're going to give this a try.
Yeah,
Never been done.
Wow. We just take out this part here, connect these tubes and whatnot. Like
it's a little integral part. No problem.
Right. I mean, I suppose I can't even imagine what has to go into your head when you're in the middle of doing something like that. If you're studying to be a surgeon, but if you just, I don't know, if you just go into the mindset and think, this is just plumbing, just reconnect it, disconnect this, reconnect that.
That's a good point. The mechanics.
There's a lot of mechanical, but yeah. So interesting. But I mean, someone had to come up with it, and it saved so many lives over the years, right? So important. And then of course, then the rest of his profile is bullet point, which is interesting. Like seeing this now, I'm thinking I don't like the style, but when I first joined WikiTree, this is exactly how I guess the first few profiles I saw in this style, and that's how I would do it. I birth, and then I would give a sentence, and then the source, and then marriage, and then a little sentence about it, and the source. And now my personal style would be to have the biography, just a series of prose paragraphs.
More narrative than
more narrative. Yeah.
We're twins because that's what I did too. Everything had a header.
Yeah.
Everything.
Like that thing's organized. There's the header. This is the thing. But so that's just. But maybe that's just a personal style. That stuck out to me. Zenzile Miriam Makeba is next. Born in 1932 in the Prospect Township, Johannesburg, Union of South Africa. Died in 2008 at the age of 76 in Casal Volturno, Caserta, Campania, Italia. That was the other thing I did research, how to pronounce the capital of South Africa. And in South Africa, more commonly, it's pronounced Johannesburg. But the Johannesburg is commonly accepted in the English language. So both of those pronunciations are acceptable, apparently. But I will probably say Johannesburg for most of this broadcast, just because that sounds cooler. Anyways, because as I've often repeated, pronunciation is very important to me, to try and get it as right as much as I can.
Yes. And people appreciate that.
Well, I'm glad they do. Yes, and I appreciate Riel helping me out there and sending me that recording. I think that's just so cool. So
yes,
and you never know who I'm going to reach out to next to ask for pronunciation help. So hopefully, other WikiTreeers will respond. So Zenzile Miriam Makeba, a nickname Mama Africa. South African singer, songwriter, actress, United Nations Goodwill Ambassador, and civil rights activist. Associated with many musical genres, including Afro pop, jazz, and world music. And she was an advocate against apartheid and the white minority government in South Africa. And after she passed away, she was posthumously inducted into the World Music Hall of Fame just a few years ago in 2022. Has an association with Nina Simone, and her Wikipedia page has a bit more information about her. There's that lovely portrait of her. You can just see this emotion she's putting into her song there during her performance. This is 1991. And this has more details about her life. And one of her big songs, she worked with Harry Belafonte. I thought that was kind of cool. The two of them worked together, and he became her mentor and colleague. And one of her most popular songs is one called Pata Pata. And I actually went on YouTube and found it. It's quite neat. It's very cool. So you should check that out if you haven't. And then we have Jacobus Hendrik Pirni, who is a painter. Lovely background there in his profile, taken from one of his paintings. I'm not sure if that's the Willow. That's one of his famous paintings, but He was acknowledged as a South African landscape artist who was one of the best of the old South African masters. Born in 1886 in Pretoria, Transvaal in South Africa, son of Gerrit Pierneef and Neska Christina Booser. Got married at age 23, and then again at age 38 with second wife. And it's a distinctive style, widely recognized. He simplified landscapes to geometric structures, so that appeals to me mathematically. Using flat planes and lines and colors to represent the harmony and order in nature. So that's neat. His representations of the South African landscape had dramatic light and color, can be viewed worldwide in many collections. Yeah, so there's the willow tree there. So neat.
I love the picture of him at work.
I do.
Yes.
His palette and his easel.
Yeah, that's very cool, eh? Yeah. Neat. Great profile there. And we talked about Charlize already. And then there's Desmond Mpilu Tutu. So he also, Riel also gave me a note about how to pronounce Desmond's middle name. He says most commonly English speakers mispronounce it by stressing that for the first M, and I'm not sure what the right word for it is, and saying Pilu. But in fact, the right way to pronounce it is to have your mouth closed, like you've just eaten well, he didn't say this. I internalized it. Like you've just eaten a chocolate chip cookie that was fresh out of the oven. So pilu. So you have your mouth closed and you make the sound, and then you pop it open with the pilu. Pilu. So Desmond Pilu Tutu. I just thought I'd share that.
I'm with you on the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, that's right. Mbilu. Anyway, born the 7th of October, 1931 in Klerksdorp, Transvaal in Union, South Africa. Passed away in 2021, Boxing Day, at age 90, Cape Town, South Africa. South African roots, of course. Known for his work anti-apartheid, of course, and also a human rights activist. He was the Bishop of Johannesburg, then the Archbishop of Cape Town, first Black African ever to hold the positions of Bishop and Archbishop. So that's an important first. He won the Nobel Peace Prize back in 1984, and other international awards, of course, for his anti-apartheid activism. Nominated for the Pope, he was nominated in 81, 82, and 83. Eventually won it in 84. He popularized the term Rainbow Nation as a metaphor for post-apartheid South Africa after the 1994 under the ANC rule. And after apartheid, his status as a gay rights activist kept him in the public eye more than any other issue facing the Anglican Church. Certainly churches have wrestled with that issue for many years. He retired in 2010, but still maintained interest in social issues, of course. And then there's more details about his life, including his parents. He's the second son and the second child of 6 children born to Zacharias Lillo and Aletta Dorothea Mavertsek Matlar in 1931. So one interesting thing, and then of course it goes on to more details about specifics about his life. But if we go up here and click on the Ancestors tab, his father and mother are not listed yet, though the biography has them.
Huh. And I noticed he only has 36 connections.
Yeah.
There's a weekend project for
There's definitely a weekend project. So he has his daughter and his daughter's on WikiTree, so the connections must go through the private daughter. But the other thing I noticed is that there is a link in the sources to his family search page, and on the family search page, his parents are both there, and in fact, looking at his father's page, here, let me just zoom in there. He has actually one source is Wikipedia, but two legitimate sources, a marriage and a death source. So his parents should easily be addable. And in fact, his parents were married in 1925, and the database is civil marriages from 1870 to 1931. So his father's parents could feasibly also be in that same data set. So we could be able to go. So I noticed that Desmond is part of the South Africans Roots Project. So maybe some members of that project or someone else who wants to help out could expand to at least his parents and siblings, because I think all of those are fairly doable.
We have a comment from Thomas Kuhnlein. We haven't seen Thomas in the chat for a while. Welcome back, Thomas.
Sandy was just mentioning that. Yeah.
Yeah. And his field is linguistics. So there you have it, Greg, about pronunciation.
Don't allow those consonant clusters. So we try to make it a separate symbol, inserting a vowel. That's exactly, sounds, that's exactly how, what Real was describing.
Thanks, Douglas.
That's right. Nice. Okay, moving right along. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, or J.R.R. Tolkien, as most people just know. If you're asked, what does the J.R.R. stands for? Lots of people would probably guess John. Some might have thought of Ronald for one of the R's, but I doubt many people who didn't know would guess that third, that middle name there, Reuel. Anyways, but he's got compared to Desmond, he's got a nice full pedigree here. So let's just go back to the family up there. So yeah, born in 1892 in Bloemfontein in the Orange Free State. Passed away at the age of 81 in 1973 in Bournemouth, Hampshire, England, United Kingdom. South African roots because he was born there. There's an original cover from The Hobbit. Nice, of course, famous for his writings on Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, The Silmarillion, often referred to as the father of modern fantasy. If you are familiar with the modern author Brandon Sanderson, I often watch some of the YouTube things that he does, and he actually teaches a whole class on creative writing, and he often refers to Tolkien, and he refers to him as Grandpa Tolkien, because so many fantasy writers, have inherited because of the work that he has done to forward the genre. So. Which is kind of neat. He had his father died when he was only 4, and then his mother died when he was 12 years old, which had to be difficult. Grew up in Birmingham, went to King Edward School in Birmingham, and then to Exeter College in Oxford. Interesting, his service in World War I became inspiration for his books. He got married at age 21. And what was interesting about this is that he was in love with this woman, young lady, but his guardian barred him from seeing her. Said, "You can't see her. You can't." And so he had to. He sort of dropped the love affair or the courting or whatever, because he had to choose between obeying or disobeying his guardian and following the love of his life. So he did the one, and she stuck around, so they eventually were able to get married. So interesting.
I have a question. So you see how right beneath that fact there's a block, a set out quotation.
Yeah,
I've been seeing that with the new redesign.
Yeah,
I like how it looks. How do we do it?
Oh, that's an excellent question.
So that was really easy too. I'm glad you mentioned it.
Let's go into edit mode and just see that. Because I do like how it stands out.
Tip of the week.
What's that?
This can be our tip of the week.
This is our tip of the week. That's right. Let's see. There, his mother died. Here's the block. Yeah. So you just use the code block quote. And then you end it with block quote.
Okay.
And it automatically does that.
I
So
know, that cool. It gives you that little line and the
yeah,
little quote.
I love that. So that's just in a way the wiki code is just like the ref tags,
It's like a ref
Mhm,
tag. Yeah.
mhm.
block quote instead of ref.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
So, I'm going to, let's see now, is there, there's not a button for block quote, is there?
I don't know, but if
No.
Ian's watching, he'll create it.
Yeah, that's right.
I know we use it for our notables because we might get a quotation from them, or if we don't have quotation from them, we'll get a quotation from somebody talking about them.
Yeah.
Or we'll put like a song lyric in a block quote on our notables.
So let's go to the preview now that I've added another block quote. Well, actually, it shouldn't be a comma, it should be a dash, right? Where did I put it now? I've lost it. Oh, there's a bunch of block quotes here too. Okay, I'm going to cancel.
Yes, don't save that.
Save. And no, where's cancel? Where's the cancel button? Is there not a cancel?
Go back.
Oh, what if I go to just return?
Or hit the bubble and don't save.
There we go.
Let's see.
Just to I mentioned wiki code and Richard in the chat said wiki code, what's that? And so that refers to all the things that we put in edit mode, like the bracket ref, close bracket, that creates the sources, things like that when you save your profile, turn it into, it seems like gobbledygook when you're in edit mode, and then it transforms your profile into the pretty looking thing that we want.
Yeah. So even the categories, that's a form of wiki code, right?
Right.
Right. And then the ref tag, there's that. So all these stuff in the background that helps with formatting, you're right. That you don't have to see or worry about when you're back here. Cool. Moving on to Alan Stewart Patton, born 1903 in Pietermaritzburg in Natal, South Africa, died at the age of 85 in 1988 in Durban, South Africa. South African author, activist. His most famous work was a novel, Cry the Beloved Country, which apparently was a very famous, born in 1903, and died at Botha's Hill. Now, like the other one, his Wikipedia article gives a lot more detail about his life. And it would be nice if some of that, we don't want to just copy and paste, obviously, from Wikipedia over, but it would be nice if some of that detail, just to flesh out, the born and died, part of the dash in between.
Sure.
Nice to have some of that. But his father was a civil servant, and he attended, went to high school, got a Bachelor of Science. So interesting parts of his life that aren't there is that he was a principal of a reformatory for young offenders, and he made a lot of progressive reforms. Instead of locking them up and treating them poorly, he developed a system that sort of gradually, based on trust, that if they had proven that they were trustworthy, then they were treated better, and I think would probably help facilitate or reform. What's the word I'm looking for?
Reform, rehabilitate.
Yeah, rehabilitate. That's the word. It's a word that rhymes with facilitate, but it's not facilitate. Rehabilitate is the word I was looking for. And because of that, fewer than 5% of 10,000 men, so that's a pretty big sample set, who were given home leave ever broke their trust. So, that was impressive. And then, of course, after that, again, anti-apartheid was part of his thing. And publication of the book there, other stuff. So some more details there that flesh out his life. Now here, this one, Seymour Aubrey Papert, very important, very important person in computer science and math, I guess, as well. Born on Leap Day, the 29th of February, 1928 in Pretoria. So that alone is pretty cool.
Yes.
You know, Leap Day, I mean, only coming around once every 4 years. You know, pretty unique birthday. In Pretoria in the Transvaal, Union of South Africa. Passed away on the final day of July 2016 at the age of 88, number of keys on a keyboard, in Blue Hill, Maine, United States. So already even his you know, primary dates are very cool. He only has 72 connections because, again, we only have his parents. We don't have any further. So that would be nice to increase that, those connections as well. But he's a pioneer in computer scientists from South Africa who advanced childhood education and developed programmable Legos. So here's a picture of him with a Lego contraption. Also political and anti-apartheid activist, which is a very common theme among all of many of our profile people. Attended the University of Witwatersrand and the University of Cambridge. Pioneer in the realm of artificial intelligence, co-inventor of the Logo programming language, and also professor of applied math, and served as co-director of the MIT Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. Learned his work on learning theories, included the impact of new technologies on learning, and worked with Lego in the Logo programmable Mindstorm, which were robotics kits. So great guy, huge mind. And in terms of computer science and programming, he had a huge effect on education because he, along with artificial intelligence and programming, the other thing that he studied and he's brilliant for is how children learn. And so one of my very first jobs as a teaching option co-op student was I worked in an elementary school, and classes came in Toronto, downtown Toronto, and classes were bussed in or took the TTC, streetcars or whatever, to come to the computer lab that we had set up, because this was back in the 80s when there weren't computer labs in every school because they were just too expensive. So classes would come to a school, you know, many miles away, to learn computer stuff. And this Logo programming language that he developed was something that I was able to teach to elementary students, like students in grade 3 and 4.
Wow.
So if you're familiar with Scratch or things like that, it's sort of similar, because the programming language, you had to type everything in, not like today, because back then the computers, the primary interface was the keyboard, right? So you had to type in language, but the language, and on the screen, you know, it wasn't in the 80s. The computer display was pretty basic,
We're talking green text.
I'm remembering that.
Green or orange.
Yeah.
And what graphics were there were basically just sort of straight lines, and, you know, very primitive. So the commands were things like forward 100, which would go forward 100 pixels, backwards 100, right turn 90 degrees, left turn 90 degrees, or 60 degrees, or 120 degrees. So those, you know, forward, backwards, right and left, pen up or pen down. And so your cursor, the thing you were moving around, which was basically your cursor, was this triangle, and they called it the turtle. And so you would give the turtle, you know, go forward 100, so it would go up. And if the pen was down, it would leave a trail behind it. And then you would say right turn 90, so it would turn, and then you go forward 100, it would move there. And then you'd right turn 90 again, and it would go forward, and then again, and then you have a square. And so that was very exciting. And then you got to play with that, and you'd have the kids figure out, you know, what angle would you have to turn if you wanted to make a triangle instead of a square.
Smart.
So I mean, it's very cool. anyways, but students picked up on it. I mean, the commands were simple, but the concept of, breaking something down to its most basic concepts and then being able to apply that. I mean, that's the basics of computer science and how you teach kids how to do it and why, it's so exciting. And
oh, I bet there were some students who you introduced that to, Greg, that they just went,
yeah,
they probably went on into it as the field that, they were growing up with the field.
Yeah, it's very, So anyways,
it did take something so, like you said, what they're doing in the background is a little bit harder concept than just saying forward, backwards, but for somebody so brilliant to break it down to an elementary school level, that takes talent too, because sometimes some of our brilliant people just only think at that higher level and they can't bring it down and to think about the kids. Because that's the future. That's how this is going to progress. Is kind of brilliant on his own, just that one little part.
Yeah.
And then you taught it,
and I taught it.
And that's the connection. I love that. I love seeing your passion for the topic too, because it helps us understand it.
Yeah. Well, when you have a whole room of kids like that. And then what's also neat is to see the teachers, and most of the teachers didn't have computers at them. Like they might have a computer at the school that they could work on or whatever, but, they were getting into it too, and their light bulbs are going on in their heads too. So that was also exciting to see, but it was neat. But the cool thing is then, so it started with his logo program, which was this very simple programming one. But then once Lego came along and you were able to program motors and stuff, and by connecting to them computers, basically download a program that could control these little mini robots. And when you mirror the two, so you have the programming language, and then you can transfer that to a robot to move around the room and physically do things like the forward, backward, and all those stuff. Then that just took it to another level, and the engagement was pretty cool. So anyways, very impressive person. And so very cool that we got him there. Murray's in the chat. My question is if this is one of the computer people that he has met, because Murray has dealt with a number of computer what's the word, pioneers in his professional life, before his pre-WikiTree life. He had some connections. So I'm just wondering. No, he is not.
No.
That's too bad. Anyways, Elon Musk is the next one. Born in the 70s. He was born in South Africa, in Pretoria, in the Transvaal. His mother is a model and dietitian from Saskatchewan. So there's a Canadian connection here. And his father, Errol Musk, is a South African engineer. So his father is South African, mother Canadian. His two younger siblings, as well as 4 paternal half-siblings. Baptized in the Anglican Church. His parents divorced, and so then he moved to Canada in 1989. As a teenager, he developed an interest in computing and programming, and selling his first video game at age 12. Attended Queen's University, which is university here in Canada, in Kingston, Ontario, and then transferred to the University of Pennsylvania. Got his degree in physics and economics, and then went on. So where's it here? Yeah, so what I didn't realize is the different companies he'd had. He has a company called XAI, of course, SpaceX, and so so that explains his obsession over the letter X and why he renamed Twitter to just X. I never understood why he did that, why he called Twitter X before. I just thought, where did he come up with that? Why that letter? But apparently he had a obsession with that letter. Anyway, so there you go. The only thing I have in common with Elon is that we both lived in Canada for a while, And I've also taken a computer science course from Queen's University. But I think that's probably where we
There it is.
we
I think
repart.
a lot of people, he's the closest to them, but I think because a lot of the other profiles of the week have smaller CC7,
Mhm.
and he is in the 2000. I think only one other one of
Yeah.
the profiles of the week had something like 9,000 CC7.
Mm.
So as the others get worked on, you guys might see that you're
Yeah.
close to some of the other South Africans that are featured this week.
Right. Dave Matthews is another South African, born in the 60s, son of John Wakop Matthews and Valerie Ann Borchers. Musician, songwriter, founder and frontman of the Dave Matthews Band. Very original band name. Born in 1967, actually, in Johannesburg, South Africa. His father was a physicist.
Oh, interesting.
That is neat, yeah. But by age of 2, they moved to Yorktown Heights in New York. Unfortunately, his dad passed away from cancer when he was only 10. And then his mother took him to his first live musical performance to see Pete Seeger. That would be an impressive first concert. And then they moved back to Johannesburg. And he became a naturalized U.S. citizen in the 1980s. So that would have been shortly after his dad passed away. And then went to Virginia and formed the band. And anyways, I wasn't familiar with a lot of their music, but I was playing some of it on YouTube, and it's quite good stuff. So, are you familiar with Dave Matthews?
Yeah, a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, his music is catchy, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Uh-huh. Very cool. So neat. And then we have Edith Eileen Brown, born in 1896 in Cape Town, South Africa, passed away at the age of 100. Love to see that. Age of 100, 20th January 1997 in Southampton, England. And her claim to fame is that she was a passenger on the Titanic.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And survived, obviously. Wow.
She was one of the oldest survivors, or one of the oldest surviving survivors. If that makes sense. Like, she lived to be 100. So in April 1912, she was 15 and a half years old, traveling with her parents, who were immigrating to the U.S. to join her aunt and uncle, who lived in Seattle, where it was more prospects than South Africa at the time. She survived. Her father did not, but she and her mother both survived. Returned to Cape Town and moved to Johannesburg. And then she married 3 years later. So she would have been young, right? 20, well, I guess 21, almost 21. Married Friedrich Bangsvoll Heisman and lived in Johannesburg. And they had 10 children overall, passed away in 1997. So there we have it.
Oh, need more to add more of her children.
Yeah.
Too.
That's right,
yeah.
we only have 2 here, right?
Yeah.
Unless the rest are still alive.
Oh, could be.
I
Yeah.
was thinking. Yeah.
Could be, yeah. And then the final one is Annie Frances Bland, who was married to the first South African Prime Minister, Louis Botha. So she herself was a South African civic leader, established an orphanage in South Africa, co-founded the South African Women's Federation, born in 1864 in Cape Province, and passed away, where was it, in 1937 in Sazila in Natal Province. There we have it.
Wow.
And those are your profiles of the week.
Yes. Awesome.
There's a lot of varied people. You know, generally you see some commonality but the location. But it's pretty amazing how they're very varied. But
yeah.
I
mean, a lot of them had the anti-apartheid theme through them.
Yeah.
Which I suppose isn't surprising. But yeah, but you're right. Lots of variety there. Authors,
musicians.
The arts were well represented this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that the physician who did the first heart transplant, that was
Yes.
fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
the scientist and then the mathematician in there as well.
Yeah.
And then too with the religion. That's very, very.
It's very
And
cool.
and then the last one who just was a survivor of a momentous
Yeah.
event in history. That was
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a really neat mix. So kudos on the person who
Mhm.
picks those this week. It is
Abby.
Well, Abby,
Abby.
but
Yes.
also WikiTreeers also go
Nominate?
on G2G and nominate too.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, good job, everyone
Yeah.
involved in this picking. I really do like when they pick a like an area, you know,
Yeah.
so you can sort of focus on one sort of geography or one, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So Anne is moving us along.
Good. Oh yes, because we have another meeting at 12, and I
We
have
have,
to get.
we have a reveal for Daniel Horwitz's
Mhm.
WikiTree challenge results at in an hour. So I will not take an hour, promise. And then also following that, Maurice Gleason is the next challenge focus. And so he's a genetic genealogist, and there will be a weekend chat for his challenge, which is in progress. So lots to do this morning.
Mhm.
I will get to it with, let me share my screen. And let's see. Okay. Oh, wait, I want to do my entire screen. Share and all right. So actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do question of the week first. Since that is in line with you know, our focus on South Africa this week. So the question was, do you have South African roots? What about you, Sandy?
No. No. I bet I am very curious to see, as Greg mentioned, mine tie in through my German side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw a lot of that myself
Mhm.
because I was playing along. And Greg?
No South African roots, as far as I can tell. I don't even know of any any close cousins. I mean, I think I'm a
Yeah.
distant cousin to Riel and some others, but no close cousinships either that I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do not have South African roots. I do have a second cousin who was born in Johannesburg. Uh, this is from my British side of the family, and her father had gone over there to work and married somebody who was South African. There may be longer, deeper roots there, but
Mhm.
anyway, she was born there. That's my only connection. But so I thought it was interesting that Sandy mentioned migration or immigration mysteries
Mhm.
because I noticed that appearing a lot as I read the answers. I'm going to refresh because there were 14 answers a couple hours ago. Did anyone else? No new answers. Okay. So we did have a mix of people who, some of them, 9 generations back since
Oh,
1699.
wow.
This is Pieter van Zyl. Um, and proud to be an Afrikaans speaking South African. And then we had somebody else, Jean Reeder, also said, now I thought this was interesting, also 9 generations in South Africa, and first ancestor arriving in 1698. And that ancestor was made a free burgher and granted land to farm in the Newlands. And this is where Newlands Cricket, the old rugby grounds, and Kevin Grove are today. And then goes on to say that part of being granted land was the requirement that the burghers had to plant 100 oak trees a year.
Oh,
So that's a lot of work. So not just once, a year. So
Wow.
sitting under the oaks at Newlands Cricket Ground has special meaning for us.
Oh, I can
That's
imagine.
so fascinating. And let's see. Yep. We just see a lot of not only people moving to South Africa, but returning to England, and just a lot of back and forth. I did see some brick walls surrounding. Let's see. I think it's this next one.
I'm curious, since I don't know this area, I'm curious, are brick walls easier? The sources there, like,
I
we have, or I just don't know.
I sort of thought that this might come to light when Greg did the profiles, but what were their censuses? Were they on the ones like over in England, or just
That's a good question.
yeah?
Let me have a boo.
Yeah, because somebody mentioned an 1841 census, and I thought, oh, is that in England or Canada? Or so here's a brick wall right here. Zana Parker says, my great-great-great-grandfather and family immigrated from England to South Africa, but I'm not sure exactly when. Probably the second half of the 19th century. And so his name was William Finlayson, born in 1827-ish in a tiny hamlet called Bray Hungay in Caithness, Scotland. Then he moved to London, became a metropolitan policeman, culture shock, and married Sophia Dyer. They had at least 9 children. So it sounds like they emigrated later in life, because by the time that William and Sophia emigrated, the 2 girls were married and had their own families. They remained in England, and then the sons went with their parents. I don't know when or why they emigrated, and would love to know more. I have death records with their addresses and families' names on them, but don't know what they were doing there in the first place or exactly when they went. Yeah. So yes, and looking for cousins. She thinks she has some cousins. I'm sure she does over in South Africa. So very, very cool. And then so I wanted to let me hop over right now to the South Africa project. So this is one of our umbrella projects, very well established, and I thought that it was interesting. I'm going to hop down to their sub-projects. So their sub-projects are, settlers, the Anglo-Boer War, the Cape of Good Hope project. So, there are a lot of ways if you have South African connections and want to work in this area, sign up for the South Africa project. They have listed on there, I'm going to go back up, how to join. There should be a welcome, a G2G welcome post that you can just respond to, and the leaders will get you going. But I just thought of that because Susanna de Bruyn responded to the question here. I was born and raised in South Africa. The first in my family to come to South Africa was the Leroux in 1654 from France. So there's that French connection. Then on my father's side, the Kutsi family has been in South Africa since 1670. So very deep roots.
To answer your question, Betsy, I just went through the sources of all of our profiles of the week, and there's nary a single census from South Africa.
Oh boy!
There are English censuses. There are South African marriage records. And on the very first one, Christian Bernard, there were estate files and probate files from Family Search. But there are no South African censuses on those profiles. Now, I don't know if that means that there are no South African censuses available.
But they say that they're available online and undertaken since 1996.
Wait, say that again, Sandy?
Yeah, it says information online with statistics of South Africa for censuses undertaken since 1996. That must be something different. They must call their census something.
Yes.
something different. But
yeah, South Family Search Wiki might say something.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. They have census records, so it's interesting. But I will say that they have a lot of church registers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Church and like marriage records are often the church ones, right? And there was another
the parish and things like that. Right? So that's going to be, I guess, kind of like Sweden. That's how we used to the household records and the census.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Thanks for looking that up. Yeah, here's the one where there's a reference to an 1841 census, and I wasn't sure. This is another mystery, and from Edwin Reffel, and he says, since so few with the surname Reffel will take any Y-DNA test, he doesn't know whether he's got it narrowed. It sounds like he has it narrowed down to 2 candidates for his ancestor, but he's not sure who his 3rd great-grandfather is. So, well, hopefully you can convince somebody to test, and you'll get that answer, Edwin.
Hey, Betsy, so for question of the week, this seems like a lot of brick wall comments. Is this
exactly?
That's odd, right?
Yeah, I think that's why I was highlighting migration mysteries, brick walls. Yeah. So, because like in for instance, in this one, James Reffel, born 1791 in Surrey, England, must have emigrated to South Africa because obviously there were records there later. And he had a daughter, and they don't appear, this must be the UK census. They don't appear in the 1841 census. And so, yeah, it seems like if you are part of the migration, you might be harder to track, not impossible. And then let's see, this one from Janice Thrupp. Family knowledge was that my great-grandfather's brother immigrated to South Africa from Scotland. I found him.
Wow.
He was a fireman. And he was born in 1877 in Green Rock, Scotland, died in 1952 in Tshwane, South Africa, buried in Pretoria. And she's been able to add his 4 children to WikiTree. Would love to know more about this branch of my family. I knew we were going to be looking at South African notables, so I thought that we'd look at a South African regular person. So here is Janice's ancestor, and she's got the tree filled out fairly well. And then she has a copy of the marriage record under his photos. So good luck, Janice. And if any cousins, any Shabant cousins are watching and have some information for her, get in touch.
See, that's really great cousin bait, because she did the research and found him. So somebody out there is probably thinking, how am I ever going to find this person?
Right. But if they happen to do a Google search, they could, for Jack Shaban, they might, hopefully they'll get led to her profile.
And she provides so much great information. So the profile, and your family search has the population census for 1960, but My Heritage, and that makes a lot of sense that My Heritage has a lot of the what I would consider non-American. They have tons of records that help for over there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for, because that's one of our first go-tos, or censuses. So you got to know what the deal is there. So we've turned the calendar over to a new month, and I'll just say that the photo theme for May is children, and the G2G post for that is coming. But in the meantime, think about some good connections, some good photos that you have in your collection for children and that theme. We have one ancestor to celebrate. So that was contributed by Alexis Nelson, and it's her great grandmother Clara McIntyre. Her connection to May is that she was born May 22nd, 1855. So that puts this photo at 1875,
Wow.
which I just think is amazing. What a treasure. She was an Illinoisian, and so she was a teacher at first, and then married, stopped teaching, and had 5 children. Unfortunately, one passed away in infancy.
Hmm.
Alexis's grandmother was her only daughter, and she saved Clara's autograph book that has lovely notes that her students wrote to her.
Nice.
So, yes, here is Clara's profile, and I thought, here's a gorgeous photo of their house and the family. But the family ran from this house on Thanksgiving Day in 1901 due to a fire.
Oh.
This fire caused the loss of all their possessions. She had a gold pocket. Claire had a gold pocket watch, and she pinned that to her dress. And what Alexis says later on is that she does have things like the little autograph book that Clara's students wrote in, and the photos, and those came from other people in the family who had them, who gave them to Alexis and to Clara, and came down to Alexis after this great tragedy of a fire. An even worse tragedy came a year later, mid-February of 1902. Clara took the horse and buggy to see her brother, who had a child die of some kind of flu, and shortly after she came home, she had the same illness.
Oh.
She died February 22nd, 1902. She was only 46.
So
And
young.
yeah, her youngest child was 3. Her husband was never remarried, and what a big hole in the family's heart. Her husband and children moved to Morris, Oklahoma, about 1907, but her husband wanted to be buried next to her in Illinois, and was. So yes, and beautiful photos. I did look through those. So this is about the same time, 1875. Alexis has their marriage certificate. Very pretty lady. And there's the gold watch that was pinned to her dress, and she ran from the fire. And this was so sweet. This note: "Teacher, the things we see are fleeting, like summer flowers decay. The things unseen are real and do not pass away. In remembrance of your scholar." I can't really read the first name. It's something with an S.
Oh, I was going to say Lucetta.
Okay. Lucella?
Or Lucella. But maybe, let's see.
Pine, written September 10th, 1888.
Oh, maybe it is an S, because the S in September.
Yeah, right.
Cinchella?
I feel like Cella is definitely the ending.
Yeah. Cincella?
Maybe Suchella?
Suchella?
I don't know. But how special.
Yeah.
What an amazing thing to have that. Yeah.
Oh, it says Lucetta. Lucetta Pines.
Oh, okay.
The label. Scroll down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Did they create a profile for her and link her too?
Lucetta, there it is.
What? Oh my God.
There we go. That's so cool.
Look, and the autograph is the background. Oh, this is so special. And Alexis did this. Oh. Wow. That's wonderful. I love it when people take a document, a record, and then they do profiles for everybody on the record. And she had a picture. Wow. It's fantastic.
Neat.
Yeah. So, well, happy birthday to your great grandmother, Clara Alexis, and thank you for sharing her with us. And yeah, that's it for me.
Wow. Okay. So we should wrap up, which means I should have had the, which I don't. Let me find the list. Where's my link to social media? You'd think I would be more prepared, because I always am searching for this right at the last moment. But here we go. Because there's a few things I have to do before our 12 noon reveal. So I might have been doing a little cutting and pasting while. Sorry, Betsy. Okay, so coming up this week, what do we have? Well, as Anne has reminded us, very shortly, within in 40 minutes, we'll be doing the big reveal for Daniel Horowitz, and then an hour after that, we'll be checking in on how people are doing with the WikiTree challenge for Maurice Gleason. Last week, while I was busy playing for a funeral, you all probably already mentioned about the tech talk, which we did, the tech Zoom meeting, which happened on Monday night.
I watched it. It was great. Fantastic.
It was a great one. I had very little to contribute, actually, but I did show off a few things. And what was neat about, so if you notice, I've still stuck with, since the redesign, when I'm showing off the profiles, I have it in Chrome, I just use WikiTree, the standard WikiTree with no browser extensions installed. But on Safari, I do have the WikiTree browser extension installed. So I've got the best of both worlds, depending on what browser I use. So I can see what's happening, but I can also, and I'm still showing the standard WikiTree
native
profiles, the native one. But the WikiTree browser extension, I mean, Ian Bicall and his team have done amazing work, and it's very solid and very, so if you've been delaying since the redesign of, re-engaging the WikiTree browser extension, I would suggest it's definitely time to re-engage and check it out. And there's so many new features, and Murray did an excellent job of showing off some of those new ones, especially with the changes you can make to backgrounds and fonts and readability. There's lots of stuff there to explore. So check out that video that's on YouTube now, if you haven't already done that. But coming up this week, what do we got? There's a question. There'll be a question of the week. The one name study for this Tuesday is Horn. There'll be connection checkers. Again, same theme. Hound Hampshire is the one place study in Great Britain. Disasters is the projects we're focusing on Thursday. You have a new Q&A members scheduled for Thursday.
Yes, I do. Actually, so Murray and Stephen are going to be the hosts. Because I am going to be off to a chamber music competition with my students.
Oh, nice.
So I will be at that very time. I will be driving the car to get us.
And I'll think of you. I'll be in the middle of our provincial math conference Thursday and Friday, which is not a WikiTree event. And then Florida artists are the Hall of Fame. And do you have a Zoom or something coming up on Friday, Sandy? Is this a bingo week for you or no?
No more bingo.
No more bingo?
No more bingo.
Oh.
Nope.
Sorry.
The only thing we have on is our project Appalachia just started the 100 days of Appalachia. So each day is a new quest for 100 days each day, but they're very easy and they're fun and they're silly. Like first day was share a selfie if you're participating and things like that, just to get to know each other better.
And your video for that, Sandy, I loved it.
No, thank you. it's just something to get the fun, the music.
Yeah.
Gotta have the Appalachian music and tap your toes and have fun. And I'll just say no bingo. Why? Just very, very quickly. Need more viewers. If there are more viewers, it was getting hard to give away a prize, because if you won a prize in the last 6 months, you could not win again. So we just needed more viewers. So it's paused. I always like A1 saying, never say never. It could come back, but you all got to tell us if you want it back, and we'll look at it again.
Good stuff. Anything else that we should mention about coming up this week? I think in this link as well, of course, there'll be the link to each of these, the 12 photos to celebrate your ancestors, the makeover, the blogosphere, the post that Chris does every week, Chris Feriolo. Lots of things to stay engaged. And I think that's all I have to say about that. So have a great week, everyone. Yes. Any last words, Betsy and Sandy?
No.
Thanks for letting me pop in.
We'll
be back next week.
It's great. Always great to see you, Sandy. You're welcome to join us anytime. Even if all three of us are healthy.
Even all three there.
I'll bring somewhere.
I'll bring my biscuits.
Bring your biscuits. That's great. And I'll see a bunch of you in half an hour for the reveal. Time to grab some peanut butter sandwich and finish my printouts. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.